The WTA calls it a box office matchup. Amanda Anisimova is the higher-ranked seed and one of America's top 10 players, competing on home soil. Eala, the younger player, is simply trying to stay alive for another round. But the WTA chose a much stronger description, saying this match is going to be box office. And that matters, because this isn't even a semi-final. This isn't the final, and there's no trophy waiting for the winner tonight. Eala and Anisimova have never faced each other before. Still, even before the opening ball is hit, this matchup already feels far more important than its position in the draw would suggest. Oh, why is that? What can make a third-round match feel like a major event? On paper, the situation seems straightforward. Anisimova is the number 9 seed and ranked inside the top 10. She has the power to take control of a point almost instantly, and she is competing in Cincinnati, where the crowd should normally give her a strong home advantage. The other side is Eala, the number 17 seed and world number 20. The 21-year-old left-hander has spent this season making people rethink how they describe her. She is no longer just seen as a promising prospect, a feel-good story, or simply the Filipino player with passionate supporters. She is now viewed as a real threat. And that is what makes this matchup so intriguing. On paper, the ranking gives Anisimova the advantage. The atmosphere may tell a different story, and the tennis itself could be much tougher for the American than the numbers suggest. 3 key questions could determine how the entire night unfolds. Can Eala prevent Anisimova from controlling the first 3 shots of each point? Can she turn a power battle into a contest built on movement and patience? And if the stadium gets loud, which player will actually gain the bigger advantage? That is exactly why box office is such a fitting description. It is not predicting who will win. It is predicting the tension, and this match has plenty of it. First, take away the hype and focus on where both players actually stand. Anisimova clearly has the stronger position. She is the number 9 seed in Cincinnati, a top 10 player, and an American competing on home soil. She comes into this match after defeating Zeynep Sönmez in straight sets, 6-2, 6-3. There was nothing in that result to suggest panic or a player struggling to find her form. Anisimova handled the previous round exactly as an elite player should. She stayed in control, got the job done, and moved into the third round without letting the match become difficult or complicated. Eala arrives with a different kind of momentum. She is the number 17 seed and ranked number 20 in the world. Not long ago, the conversation around her was mostly about potential. Could she finally break through? Could she compete with established players? Could she turn those flashes of talent into the kind of consistency needed to succeed week after week on tour? Those questions are slowly starting to disappear. Now the questions have changed. How far can she go? Who might she beat next? And how much pressure can she put on players who once stepped onto the court against her with little reason to worry? This North American hardcourt swing has completely changed the conversation. Eala has won 8 of her last 9 matches, and in Washington, she claimed the first WTA singles title of her career. She continued that winning run in Toronto. Then she arrived in Cincinnati and took control against Elena Gabriela Ruse before the match ended when Ruse retired. The score was 6-1, 3-0. That detail matters because while the retirement should be acknowledged, the scoreline before it happened matters too. Eala was already firmly in control. So she is not stepping onto the court against Anisimova simply hoping to find out whether her current level is good enough. She is arriving with proof. She has been winning, handling pressure, and doing it all while the attention surrounding her continues to grow. That makes this matchup much more complicated than a simple favorite versus underdog story. Anisimova has the ranking, while Eala has the momentum. Anisimova also has the home country advantage, but Eala may have one of the loudest groups of supporters in the stadium. Still, neither advantage guarantees anything. Now it comes down to the tennis. Eala does not need to hit harder than Amanda Anisimova. Trying to match her power could be the quickest way to lose. Anisimova is at her most dangerous when she can set her feet, take the ball early, and turn the opening shots into an attack. She does not need 10 shots to damage her opponent. Sometimes 3 are enough: a powerful serve, a clean first ball, and then one explosive ground stroke that completely changes the point. That is the version of Anisimova that Eala cannot afford to allow. So the tactical battle begins with one simple area of focus: the first 3 shots, the serve, the return, and the first ground stroke. If Anisimova controls that sequence, Eala could find herself defending throughout the entire match. But if Eala can disrupt that pattern, even slightly, the entire match could change. Can she make Anisimova play 4 shots instead of 3? Can 4 turn into 6, and 6 into 8? That is where a power battle can become a test of patience. And patience brings a completely different kind of pressure. The tactical contrast is likely to look like this. Anisimova wants clarity, while Eala wants disruption. Anisimova wants to take the ball early, while Eala wants to change the pattern. Anisimova wants to strike from a balanced position, while Eala wants to keep her moving. But that does not mean Eala should become passive. It means she must know the difference between simply defending and actively disrupting. A deeper shot down the middle can remove an easy angle. A higher ball can alter the contact point. A sharp cross-court shot can pull Anisimova away from the center. A serve into the body can limit the space for a full swing. And Eala's left-handed serve can create patterns that Anisimova has not faced directly from her before. None of these ideas needs to look spectacular. That is exactly the point. Eala does not need every rally to become a highlight. She simply needs to make enough rallies uncomfortable for Anisimova, because the American wants clean timing, a fast ball coming in, a fast ball going out, a simple decision and a powerful strike. Eala needs to make those decisions more difficult. She has to vary the height, depth, direction, and rhythm of her shots, and most importantly, she needs to make Anisimova move before giving her a chance to attack. Eala gets pushed behind the baseline and responds by trying to hit even harder. She could give Anisimova exactly the rhythm she wants. But if Eala can absorb the pace, redirect the ball, and then change the next shot, the point becomes much less predictable. That is what makes this matchup so interesting. Since they have never played each other before, there is no previous rhythm to follow, no head-to-head pattern, and no direct history between them. The opening games will essentially become a live test as both players figure out what works. Who reads the serve better? Who takes control of the center of the court? Who goes after the backhand first? Who feels uncomfortable first, and who can adjust faster? Those factors could matter more than the ranking, because rankings show who has achieved better results over a longer period. They do not show us exactly how one player's patterns will match up against the others on one specific night. Anisimova clearly deserves to be the favorite, but choosing her as the favorite does not mean the tactical challenge will be straightforward. Eala has a clear path. It starts with surviving the opening shots, then using movement, variation, and pressure. If she can create enough neutral rallies, she can force Anisimova to answer a question that powerful players do not always enjoy: how patient are you willing to be? That question becomes even more important when the score gets tight. Forehand that looks wide open at 2-1 can feel completely different at 4-4. A backhand down the line that seems automatic at 15-0 can suddenly feel risky at 30. The shot itself has not changed. What has changed is the pressure behind it. That is the nature of tennis. And this is where the crowd becomes part of the story. Normally, Cincinnati should feel like home court for Anisimova. She is American, the higher seed, and a top 10 player. But this may not feel like a typical home court match. Eala has been drawing strong Filipino support from one tournament to the next, with the flags clearly visible throughout the crowd. The chants are easy to hear, and the atmosphere around Eala's matches has started to feel bigger than the round itself. Anisimova is already aware of that. She has spoken about expecting a packed stadium and knows the crowd could play a role in the match. She has recognized the support surrounding Eala and, importantly, has also made it clear that she enjoys playing in big atmospheres. That changes the crowd dynamic. The easy assumption would be that Eala gets the support while Anisimova becomes uncomfortable. But real tennis is rarely that straightforward. The same noise that lifts Eala could also give Anisimova extra energy. One player may draw strength from the support, while the other may thrive on the challenge and resistance. That is what makes the atmosphere around this match so interesting. The crowd does not score points, serve the ball, or return forehands. But it can change the feeling of what happens on the next point. Imagine a long rally at 30-30, with the entire stadium fully engaged. Eala survives. Anisimova attacks. Eala finds one more ball and keeps the rally alive. Then Eala wins the point. The score changes by just one, but the emotional impact can be much bigger. The crowd gets louder, the walk back to the baseline feels different, and the next serve suddenly carries more pressure. Now picture the opposite. Anisimova blasts a return winner through the noise and turns toward her box. the American crowd responds immediately. Suddenly, Eala is reminded that strong support does not guarantee control of the atmosphere. That is why the crowd cannot automatically be considered an advantage for either player. It simply increases the pressure, and both players will have to handle it. Eala knows what it is like to draw emotional energy from the stands, and that support can help build resilience. A difficult service game can feel less overwhelming when thousands of supporters are still cheering you on. A missed opportunity does not empty the stadium. The support stays. But support also brings expectations. When fans arrive hoping for another Eala moment, every missed breakpoint can feel more significant. A slow start becomes easier to notice, and every mistake can draw a reaction. Support can lift you. Support can also remind a player how strongly people want her to win. Anisimova faces a different kind of pressure. She is the higher seed, a top 10 player, and the American competing in the United States. If she takes control early, everything should feel familiar and normal. But if Eala gets the first break, the crowd erupts, and a third-round match suddenly feels like a final. Anisimova faces a different emotional challenge. Can she stay aggressive without becoming impatient? Finding that balance could be crucial. When a power player feels control starting to slip away, the natural reaction can be to hit even harder. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it only makes the problem grow. One forehand goes wide, then another follows, a first serve goes missing, and suddenly one bad minute can turn into a break. That is how the crowd becomes part of the match, not through magic, but through adrenaline, decision-making, risk, and the ability to reset after a mistake. That is why the biggest crowd moments may not always come after spectacular winners. They may come at 30-30, at deuce, or on breakpoint. Those are the moments when a single point can feel like 3. But crowd energy only becomes meaningful when the player on court gives the fans a reason to believe. That is the biggest change in Eala's story right now. The attention is no longer coming without results. Her results are creating the attention. Washington is the clearest example. Eala won the first WTA singles title of her career there. A title is not based on one good match or one opponent having an off day. You have to keep coming back and winning again and again. Different opponents, different styles, and different kinds of pressure. You have to keep solving problems until there is no one left in the draw. That gave Eala something more valuable than hype, proof. Then came Toronto. Instead of fading away after winning the title, she continued to move forward. That matters because players coming off a breakthrough week often face a difficult stretch afterward. The body is tired, the attention increases, and every opponent has fresh video and new information from their coaches. You are no longer catching people by surprise because they are now preparing specifically for you. Eala kept winning anyway. That is why this sequence matters. It was not crowd first and tennis second. It was tennis first, then the crowd. The winning created the belief, and that belief created the atmosphere. Now, that atmosphere is following Eala from one tournament to the next. Cincinnati is the next test. Not because beating Anisimova would suddenly prove everything, and not because losing would erase what Eala has already accomplished. This matchup matters because it asks her a completely new question. Can Eala's current rise hold up against a top 10 player with the power to take time away from almost every rally? That is a serious test, and it comes at the exact moment when the public story around Eala is also growing. Earlier this month, Marriott Bonvoy announced Eala as the face of its Tennis the World campaign across Asia-Pacific, excluding China. That does not tell us who will win this match. This is not tennis evidence, but it does show the growing level of attention around her. A major global brand is now recognizing the same momentum that tournament crowds have already been showing. Eala is moving through several stages, first a promising player, then a breakthrough player, followed by a title winner, a crowd favorite, and now an increasingly marketable star. That combination brings a different kind of pressure. There are plenty of talented players, and there are plenty of popular players. The rare players are those who start becoming both, because once that happens, every major match carries two stories. One is about what happens in the draw, and the other is about how that result affects the player's place in the sport. That is what makes Anisimova such an important opponent. She is not simply another name standing between Eala and the next round. She is a top 10 test with the power to punish short balls immediately. She can take time away before a rally settles, capitalize on hesitation, and she has already shown that she is comfortable coming into this match with confidence. Eala cannot simply wait for Amanda to make mistakes. She has to create problems herself. That means returning with depth and making full use of the angles and geometry created by her left-handed game. That means forcing Anisimova to hit while she is on the move. It means refusing to turn the match into a simple contest over who can hit the biggest ground stroke. And above all, it means making one more ball count. The phrase sounds simple, one more ball. But against a player who wants to end points quickly, one extra ball can completely change the emotional flow of a rally. 3 shots become 4, 4 becomes 6, and 6 becomes 8. Suddenly, Anisimova is not just hitting the ball, she is being forced to make more decisions. Attack now, wait, change direction, play safer, or go for the line. Every additional decision creates another opportunity for hesitation. And hesitation is where Eala can find her opening. That may be her biggest chance, not by trying to become more powerful than Anisimova. The goal is to make Anisimova less comfortable than she wants to be. If Eala can do that early, the crowd may start believing in her. Once the crowd believes, the pressure increases. And as that pressure rises, every aggressive decision becomes a little more costly. That is when this match can become exactly what the WTA suggested, box office. Not because anyone has promised a classic match. Not because Eala is guaranteed to win, or Anisimova is certain to dominate. It is because there is genuine uncertainty with real stakes involved. If Anisimova wins, the message is clear, the top 10 player handled the pressure and delivered. Her first strike tennis held up. Her experience and power prevented the Eala surge from growing even bigger in Cincinnati. But if Eala wins, the conversation changes once again. It becomes harder to describe her as simply a breakout player enjoying one great run. It also becomes harder to separate the crowd's story from her results on the court, and harder for established players to see her as just a dangerous outsider instead of a genuine threat. That is what this match is really about. Not a trophy and not a final, but a test of whether the current version of Eala can force a top 10 player to play on her terms. So pay close attention to the first 3 shots. Watch Eala's return position. Watch whether she can move Anisimova before Anisimova has a chance to attack. Pay attention when rallies reach 6 shots, 8 shots, or even 10. And watch closely when the score reaches 30